And it's just like, I just have a much better relationship with all of this. And I know that I think at the core of it, all of these things wouldn't have happened if my mentality hadn't shifted. If the most important thing to me was being thin, none of these tips would work. Maybe I should put that as a disclaimer. Number one, before any of these things, you have to let go of being thin as the most important thing. Hey there, my handsome and pretty little Cobras, and welcome back to the Cobras Nest. For those of you who are new, my name is Mignon Cobra and I make minimalism videos. But today's video is actually going to be a more like real and personal one, and that is how I fixed my relationship with food and found food freedom. I know that my channel isn't really much about like food and my relationship with food and weight, but you know, I've kind of gotten sick and tired of only making my content about minimalism. I kind of wanted to talk about other things that are, you know, things that have been struggles in my life and I figured could help somebody else out. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. Let's go. Woo. A little bit of background info. So about a couple of years ago in 2019, I started my recovery. Before that, I was suffering from anorexia and I put on about 30 pounds to be able to gain back my period and stop growing hair all over my body. So it's been about 4 years since I started my recovery, and it was a journey. It was a true, legit struggle, but I no longer eat food with fear. Even when I put on weight, when sometimes I overindulge or like, as you can see here, like I break out, there's no fear in any of that. When I remember, I would come home and like burst into tears because like, I don't know, I ate something I shouldn't have. That's how bad it was before I started my recovery. I couldn't eat food in peace without deep-rooted self-hatred. So I wanted to make this video to kind of help anybody else out, because in my makeup rehab video, I actually had a lot of subscribers reach out to me that said that they also used makeup as a coping mechanism to kind of help them get over like their eating disorders. So I want to share this with you guys as somebody who I'm in a really good place, and I have been for some time if you've been following me, because I'm very public with my life. I did record my recovery since 2019. I've been very open with everything that's been wrong in my life, and so that isn't a struggle for me anymore, and I have definitely found food freedom. So this can resonate with one person. I've done my job. Okay, number one, don't restrict. You know, it's funny, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about in this, because I have 10 tips. All of them when I was still, I don't want to say sick, but in that season of my life where I thought the most important thing was to be aesthetically healthy. So like I looked extremely fit and really, you know, what society deemed as like aesthetically attractive, I guess. None of these tips worked for me. Don't restrict. I was like, that's just because you're weak. You don't have what it takes. So I think above all else, probably a mentality shift is necessary before any of these tips even click or resonate with you. But I'm going to share them anyway. Maybe you're already there and this is the next step. So I'm not saying eat everything all the time. You're allowed to eat everything in moderation. And your moderation is going to be obviously different for everybody. I'm quite the hobbit. I'm very short. A lot of people for some reason are always shocked. I don't even have a long face. I don't know why people think I'm tall. I'm not. I'm 5 feet. My caloric requirement, my moderation level is going to be way different from like a tall girl who's like, I don't know, maybe like 5'8", 5'9". Her moderation is different from my moderation. You can definitely have some bread. You don't have to have bread every day. And if you're intolerant to gluten the way I am, then don't eat gluten bread. That's not the only bread. You can eat rice bread. You also don't restrict your meat. You don't have to eat meat every day, but you could eat some meat, you know. Vegetables is not the only food you biologically need to eat. I know that's probably not something we want to hear because we've managed to get away with so little for so long. It's like, no, I can't. I just can't. But I want to tell you that it's okay. You don't have to restrict and you can eat everything. Okay, number two, eat all food groups. That's something for me. I had a deep fear of food groups and I would go through seasons. When I was vegan, I was afraid to eat meat and any meat products like milk, dairy, cheese. So I didn't eat that for, I think I was vegan for about 3 years. Keto, I didn't eat any carbohydrates. So I didn't eat bread or rice or potatoes or anything else, I guess. So now I eat everything and I eat everything in moderation and I don't eat it all the time. Like just because I had bread yesterday doesn't mean I have to have bread the next day if I don't feel like it. Just like I don't have to have meat in every single meal. I don't have to do some of the weird things I used to do. I'd be like, if I eat carbs, I have to blunt the insulin spike by making sure I have protein with my meal. Okay, number four, carbs and meat won't make you fat. And I'm trying my best to not be triggering with any of these tips, but sometimes the most honest answer is the most helpful answer. My underlying fear was I didn't want to be fat, and I didn't want to be fat was because I felt like nobody would love me because when I used to be overweight, I was mistreated. So it's only natural that I was like, well, if I don't have to be fat, I won't. And I worked really hard to not be fat. So, and life definitely got better once I became, you know, thinner and prettier. I got treated better. I got better access to like actually dating. People actually wanted to go on dates with me. So it's all really sad when you think about it. So anyway, my tip is a lot of meat and a lot of carbs won't make you fat. I was really scared to be fat. So I was like, okay, I'm going to cut my carbs. I'm going to cut my meat. I think that cutting it isn't what makes you fat. I think it's just like calories in, calories out. It just becomes really messy and your metabolism definitely takes a hit because your metabolism is very adaptive. reactive. It becomes used to using very little fuel to keep you going. So when you have a surplus, it's become inefficient at processing it. So yeah, there's definitely a reason why, I get fat eating so little compared to other people. Well, as unfortunate as it is, the lifestyle of, restriction creates that, and it's kind of frustrating when you think about it. Me not wanting to be fat, I made my metabolism very efficient, and so anytime I ate anything, I would just have these massive weight bloats. It was like, what's going on? Now I eat a lot, and it takes a lot of food for me to like budge my weight, because my metabolism has gotten used to being inefficient. It's often fed. So don't be afraid to eat some carbs, and don't be afraid to eat some meat. That's not what's going to make you put on weight. It's a caloric surplus. Number 5, finding that fine balance between intermittent fasting and just like straight up starving. Intermittent fasting is great. I still intermittent fast even to this day. I have a safety window. So my intermittent fasting window is pretty small. So like I have brunch around like 10 or something, maybe like 10 or 11. Because if I intermittent fast too much or too long, I actually end up losing my period. I eat dinner quite late, so I don't have a very restrictive window. Like I know when I used to be so deep in intermittent fasting, it would be like by 6 o'clock, I was done. My last meal, it was over. And I wouldn't eat till like 12 or 1. I had such a tight window. It was like 6 hours. And I don't know what for. What was the point? I suffered so much with that. It was like, my friends were like, let's go eat. I'm like, I can't. It's past 6. Or Will would be like, let's get brunch. I'm like, I can't. It's not 12 yet. Like, don't get me wrong. That was definitely a season of my life. I really do appreciate the discipline that occurred in that level. But I think it's important to find that fine balance. You can definitely find a healthy way to intermittent fast. There's definitely a lot of videos out there made by professionals. I don't think starving is the answer. And when I say starving, when I got sick and tired of intermittent fasting, I decided to start doing OMAD, and that's where it got really messy. I started vomiting from the lack of food. I started trying to like go days without eating because I felt like somehow I was going to become enlightened. Like my eating disorder got severely out of control. And so I think that a tip that I can give is, like, I'm not here saying don't intermittent fast, but I'm just saying that please don't starve yourself. You don't win anything at the end. Okay, number 6, finding healthier alternatives. One of the criticisms that I feel with like the recovery community is that it's like an all or none principle. If you've come from eating very healthy, now all of a sudden you have to be recovered by eating a lot of garbage, like a lot of junk food, which I definitely disagree with. I think that there should be a healthy medium, and you can find healthier alternatives. Like I think healthier alternatives are okay. And the reason I speak is from personal experience. When I did recovery, I ate everything normal. I drank a lot of milk and I ate a lot of bread. And I got kind of sick. I didn't really realize at the time, but I'm kind of intolerant to 3 things. I'm intolerant to sugar, dairy, and gluten. So I don't not eat them. I just found alternatives. So I drink soy milk now, or almond milk instead. So I still drink milk, but it's in a different form, as opposed to when I was obsessive and I was like, I can only drink black coffee because it's 0 calories. I don't do that anymore. I don't even know how many calories in an almond milk. Who cares? I want to have milk with my coffee or tea. And it turns out I'm gluten intolerant. I would get these horrific period cramps to the point where I had to be like dragged out of the room because like I would collapse on the floor. We want to be healthy and happy. Just because the majority of the population eats bread, if you happen to be intolerant to bread, you can still eat bread. Just don't eat, gluten-based products. There's plenty of bread alternatives out there. As I've mentioned, I eat rice-based bread or tapioca-based bread, like what they call like gluten-free, and I'm really happy. I still have toast in the morning with butter. But yeah, you can eat everything just like everybody else, but you don't have to kill yourself if you're not able to process it. On the other hand, I don't think we should be using the shield that is healthy to not eat certain products. If you're able to eat gluten, please just eat gluten. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, number 7, find ways to avoid binging. When I started my recovery, my body was unaccustomed to being able to process food in such a high frequency and like in such high volumes, in reaction, the hormones and the leptin and the ghrelin and all of that, it triggered a lot of binges. I couldn't stop eating. I could not feel the feeling of fullness. My stomach would be extremely distant. It would like come out of my body. It was like, and I just kept eating. I couldn't stop eating. It was pretty bad. I think also it took some time for my hormones to regulate. I think after a while it started regulating. I think about last year was the first year that now I'm finally in a place where I think biologically I don't binge anymore because my physiology is there. I'm like, oh, okay, I can eat. I feel full. I'm full now. I don't want to eat anymore, which didn't exist before. I don't know if it was psychological fear of like, I was restricted for so long, and then I was finally able to eat again. I couldn't, and also the physiology. I don't know which one it was, or maybe it was both, but yeah, my advice is to find ways to stop binging. Things that also helped me was I stopped watching what I eat in a day videos. Those were so triggering for me. I'd see them eat and it would just trigger like a hunger response in me, and I'd start like binging. I don't watch those anymore. I don't care what other people eat. Doesn't do anything for my life. If they eat this and they eat that, I'm really happy for them, but I don't watch what I eat in videos, and I don't record what I eat anymore, and I don't put food at the forefront of my life as the most important thing. I found other things to like. I try my best to just let food be food and not be a source of obsession. Okay, number 8, try self-love. Up until I did my recovery, everything that I did was driven from a place of hatred. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. I was like, let's hate ourselves. I was like, you're not good enough, so you should lose some weight so people will love you. That was legit the thoughts I would tell myself. I was stuck in the dieting mindset for a really long time. In 2019, I started my recovery because I decided that I was sick and tired of hating myself, and I told myself I want to love myself. I want to gain weight, I want to be healthy, I want to be happy, and above all else, I want to love myself. So that's what I did. I started practicing a lot of self-love. I would tell myself I'm beautiful, I'm worthy of love regardless of my size. I did a lot of shadow work and a lot of deep-rooted stuff to find that peace where, the eating disorder wasn't the only source of validation that I had in my life, that I was worthy without that. Zen helped a lot. Meditating in Zen and like knowing that you are enough helped me a lot. So that's something maybe I could recommend. Number 9, having a healthy amount of exercise. This one is a tricky one for me because during my recovery for the past 4 years, I have not worked out. This has been the first year that I've worked out since the past 4 years because I had such an unhealthy relationship with working out. I would work out 2 to 3 times a day. I would wake up before work. So I'd wake up at 6 and I'd work out. During lunch, I'd work out. And then in the night, I'd go for a night run. I had a treadmill in my room, so I worked out whenever I wanted. And so I worked out like 3 times a day. Every time I ate, I worked out. Whether it be like I couldn't eat unless I had worked out, or if I ate out with friends, I would come home and work out. It was just, at the time, I really did think of it as a perspective of I'm so disciplined, but I think I took it in the wrong direction. So now what I do is I have a healthy amount of exercise. I think I work out like once a week, if that, because I just don't see the point anymore. I think it's important to be healthy, and I think that's why I do it. Because there was a period of time where towards the end of like the 4 years, I was sitting in my chair and I was like out of breath. And I was like, okay, I'm clearly swinging from one extreme to another. So I kind of work out now, but like in a healthy way and not an extreme way. And if you really do feel you don't want to work out anymore, I think that's perfectly fine. We all need a season of rest. And so I had that for, 4 years. And then when you feel happy, you can work out again. Maybe try a different workout. If running sucked, try swimming, try something else. I just feel like this is a healthier relationship than like doing 30-minute runs 3 times a day. Okay, number 10, eat healthy. Avoid extreme trends. I was just so desperate to reach my goal weight and maintain my goal weight, which was very difficult to maintain. I wanted to stay under 100 pounds, which is very unnecessary. I mean, I know I'm not the tallest of people, but I don't know why I got so obsessed with that arbitrary number. And so the only way that I was able to maintain such a low weight was pretty much to like eat nothing except like water boiled vegetables. And so it led me into an unhealthy world of extreme trends. When I discovered intermittent fasting, I intermittent fasted. When I discovered veganism, and I was doing everything together. I was vegan and intermittent fasting and keto and everything under the sun, so I ate nothing. We should eat in a healthy way. There's nothing wrong with eating rice. There's nothing wrong with eating bread. Let's love ourselves. Let's be healthy. And let's quit these extreme trends. And it's just like, I just have a much better relationship with all of this. And I know that I think at the core of it, all of these things wouldn't have happened if my mentality hadn't shifted. If the most important thing to me was being thin, none of these tips would work. I think maybe I should put that as a disclaimer. Number 1, before any of these things, you have to let go of being thin as the most important thing. If being thin is the most important thing, none of these tips will work. Because all of these tips involve you being at a higher weight. I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. I wanted to be thin and do all of these things, but it doesn't work like that. If you want to have food freedom, you have to find peace with the fact that being thin is not the most important thing. To be honest, that was the thing that freed me, was realizing that being thin was not the most important thing. When I realized that, like when I was like maybe like 10 pounds lighter and 10 pounds heavier, nothing changed. People still loved me. I still had to go to work. I still had to pay my bills. Nothing changed, and so I felt, it's all good. I don't need other people to love me. That's my job, not theirs. If you enjoyed this video, comment down below if any of this resonated with you. I would love to read it. And thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.